It was a very impressive day from both sides of the ball for the Houston Texans as the mandatory OTAs kick off. Who were the winners of the day and which name should you be excited to hear about?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers, to this Wednesday episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you to all of our first-time listeners and viewers. Come on in, sit down, get comfortable as Cody and I talk Texans. Please subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you to all of our returning listeners coming back again as Cody and I continue to talk Texans. On the other side of the screen is Texans Credential Media member, Sports Illustrated's own Cody Davis. I'm your Texans football analyst, John, some sports guy Hickman. We got a lot to talk about, but first I want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Hey, Cody, listen, whether it was Kamari Lassiter or Tank Dell, very impressive day, or Derek Stingley kicking off his all-pro campaign by making plays. It was an interesting day at the NRG Stadium. New faces balling, old faces balling, and smiles, across the coaching staff. D'Amico Ryans was all smiles talking about Christian Harris. Can't talk about that. Take us away.
Yes, sir. And look, it was a very eventful day, as you just mentioned, on the very first day of mandatory minicamp. We will be back out there later on today. So hopefully the excitement and all the good vibes will continue for the Houston Texans. However, we finally had an opportunity to hear from Tank Dell and newly acquired wide receiver Stefon Diggs. So, of course, as you guys know by now, John and myself will break down their press conferences and give our thoughts on what they had to say. But, John, I do want to start off this Wednesday installment of Locked On Texans, looking at some of the highlights from mandatory minicamp as of right now. Look, there was a lot that took place, so we're going to have to spread this out over the next 2 days. However, it was good to see nearly everybody take the field at the Houston Methodist Training Center on yesterday. Shaq Mason was full go. Laramie Tunsil was in attendance, but he was not dressed. The only person that was not on the field doing team activities was Titus Howard. However, do not be alarmed. Coach D'Amico Ryans did say that Titus Howard will be a full go by the start of training camp. He was actually inside rehabbing on the knee that he hurt during midway through the 2023 season. However, John, like I alluded to, there was a lot of good to take away from minicamp on yesterday, especially the plays and the players that was made on both sides of the ball. Look, ever since the arrival of Stefon Diggs, matter of fact, ever since the trade of Joe Mixon, we have talked a lot about the offense. So I want to give some good kudos to the Houston Texans defense because, John, by far, my favorite highlight of the day was when Derek Stingley Jr. recorded a pass breakup on Stefon Diggs. Of course, right. CJ Stroud was the quarterback who was attempting to connect with Stefon. And look, as of right now, John, to your point, I think Derek Stingley Jr. has gotten an early campaign started on all-pro caliber season because as of right now, we've been out there, media been out there for about 3 or 4 days, and I had an opportunity to have Derek Stingley Jr. log 3 pass deflections and 1 interception on this whole entire organized team activity so far. However, he was not the only defensive player that went out there and made plays. Look, we have spent a lot of time throughout this offseason talking about who's going to take to him as CB number 2. Quoting Coach D'Amico Ryans from last week, it is way too early to start talking about who is going to be named the starter come week 1 of the regular season.
However, get out the politics. Nobody cares about the politics right now. We don't care about the politics of a vet losing to a rookie beating a vet because let's talk about it.
That there is a name that I think has an early upper hand. It's not Kamari. It's actually CJ Henderson as of right now. CJ Henderson had a phenomenal day. He had an opportunity to record an interception. Of course, it was Davis Mills that threw it. He was targeting Xavier Hutchinson. However, John, I do want to mention, to your point about Kamari Lassiter, man, this young man is really making a name from himself already. And trust me, we as media, we are not the only ones that seen it. CJ Stroud has seen it as well.
Yeah, man, it's been great. It's been good on good. Like D'Amico always talks about iron sharp iron. You know, it's been a lot of smack talk, a lot of just good competition. You know, and it starts with me and Aziz. You know, him being the leader of defense, I'm the leader of the offense, and you know, playing him last year, man, he always showed up on tape when I watched the Titans last year. So it's cool to like see like the stuff he thinks. You can see him at my locker, me at his, or us before practice, after practice, talking about plays. And, you know, so, I mean, it starts with us. And then when you add Danielle, somebody who's a vet who plays really hard, who's going to help Will, you know, and them two dogs. You got Tim in the middle with Autry and Sosa and just a ton of guys, man. You know, on the back end, you got young guys showing up. Kalen's doing really well on the back end, along with Petrie and Jimmy, along with Kamari. Kamari's showing up. Sting is playing well, as y'all seen. So, man, it's just been dogs on dogs, you know, like, and that's the best teams I've ever been on. Has been the closest teams personally, but also the most competitive teams. So it's been dope.
Shout out to CJ Stroud there. I love that he gave credit to Aziz. He also, I don't know if you guys caught it. Maybe I'm overlooking it, Cody. You can stop me if I'm wrong, but it seems like he did a good job of making sure that he mentioned the new players, the newly acquired Houston Texans players, Aziz, Hunter, Autry. He did a very good job of that. Man, I love CJ Stroud as a quarterback. I do want to ask you, though, before we talk about Lassiter and Christian Harris, how surprising has it been to see CJ Henderson? Like, am I too early? Is it more so that I'm early on the kudos? Maybe we should wait to the end of July, August time, preseason to really start giving him props, or because I've been down on him and I could be, if I'm wrong, I would love to be wrong, or do I need to shut up and just say, hey man, listen, he balling right now, he's earning his spot? Because I've seen from clips, you've been there in person, so let me know. I've seen more plays of CJ Henderson making plays than Jeff Okudah in this entire offseason since they've signed him to Houston Texans. I've been all Jeff Okudah over CJ Henderson. So should I just sit back and shut up right now and just say CJ got it?
Yeah, both of us, especially me. And shout out to one of our listeners. Forgive me for not knowing your name at this particular moment, but I remember when the Texans signed Jeff Okudah and CJ Henderson. And John, remember, I kind of made a joke like, look, I'm not even going to worry about evaluating CJ Henderson, you know, given the fact that he's been struggling, especially, you know, during his time with the Carolina Panthers and Jacksonville Jaguars. And I remember when our faithful listeners came and they made this statement twice, and they said, you guys are giving Jeff Okudah too much credit as of right now. And look, I thought that statement was just like yeah, you know, it is what it is type stuff. But man, like I mentioned, CJ Henderson has the early upper hands in taking that job for CB number 2. Between OTAs and mandatory minicamp, I have him so far with 3 pass deflections and 1 interception. That young man has been balling and shutting everybody up, especially me.
I'm on that train as well. I do want to talk about rookie Kamari Lassiter, man. You know what I want to say? It's not necessarily about what's going on at the mini camps. It's more so about Houston giving him an opportunity to compete as an outside cornerback. Pre-draft and even post-draft a little bit, we saw a lot of, and I know I did, but we saw a lot of playing man nickel. You know, maybe you can move him around. And nobody initially gave this kid a chance out the gate to prove himself as an outside cornerback because of the 40 time, right? And so to see him out there starting alongside of Derek Stingley, who again is starting his all-pro campaign, but to see him out there as an outside cornerback and making plays as a youngin for this defense, I think that does a couple things. Number one, how much they believed in him when he was drafted, right? When they brought him to Houston. They're going to give him an opportunity to compete. And like CJ said, and we've heard it from D'Amico Ryans, this roster, this team is built to compete. So they're giving him a shot. I love that. But I also like that for Lassiter, he's getting his feet wet early on, and he's not being held back. Now I want to talk about I want to talk about Christian Harris, who I wonder how much of Fred Warner, DeMeco Ryan sees in Harris, and how much of those expectations and confidence and trust that Cap has been instilling in Christian Harris will we see to on-field production. Like how much DeMeco Ryans is giving him that we'll see translate to a better year than what we saw Christian Harris end off his sophomore year. I know that you guys had an opportunity to speak with him, DeMeco Ryans, and at that press conference, when talking about Christian Harris, he mentioned confidence and believing when referring to Harris, how much he can make those plays while also pulling his own card as a coach and emphasizing how important it is to push that confidence upon Christian Harris. And these are some of the things that DeMeco Ryans had to say about Harris. And I thought, when he said it, I immediately thought of Fred Warner, former third-round linebacker that DeMeco Ryans coached out of San Fran. Has all the athletic ability, right? That was number one. Now he knows that, and he's walking in that manner. So I take that, now that he's walking in that manner, that confidence is there. So DeMeco Ryans knows he has the athletic ability. Christian Harris knows he has the athletic ability. And with him knowing that, he's walking in that manner. Then you got DeMeco Ryans getting caught up on his words a little bit, stumbling just a little bit, and said he's one of the guys I'm proud of, and I'm proud to see his growth. I'll say all of that because, Cody, you guys had an opportunity to see Christian Harris line up, cover some slot receivers. Mm-hmm. And so to hear DeMeco say that about a Houston Texan linebacker going into his third year, and we saw a major leap from Christian Harris to close out the season, maybe the last 5 or so games, including the playoffs, 6 if you include the Baltimore Raven game. We saw him take a leap, like a year's worth leap in 6 to 7 games under DeMeco Ryans. And now you are believing in his athletic ability, pushing that confidence upon him to do some things maybe you believe he's going to be lead at doing, like covering wide receivers lined up in the slot. And I thought he did a very good job. I know it's OTAs, I know it's T-shirts, but I thought he did a very good job. One thing that Christian Harris didn't have that Fred Warner had is coming into the league with DeMeco Ryans. So again, I think Harris has been playing catch up. But if you look at the year 2 to 3 jump that Fred Warner had after a couple of seasons under DeMeco Ryans, this is according to Pro Football Focus. In year 2, he allowed 554 yards. In year 3, he allowed 270 yards. In year 2, he allowed around 10 yards per catch. In year 3, he only allowed 7.5 yards per catch. This is Fred Warner under multiple years under DeMeco Ryans. Is this what DeMeco envisions for Harris as a player? And guys, remember, Fred Warner gave Ryans a ton of credit when DeMeco came to Houston by saying he is the reason I'm the player I am today. A lot of people thought Fred Warner was a top 3 linebacker in the NFL to close out the 2023 season. A lot of people that I know look at him as the best linebacker in the NFL as he closed out the 23-24 NFL season. Is this what we're going to see with Christian Harris as he continues to grow under DeMeco Ryans? And as long as he continues to get that trust from DeMeco, how much of his natural athletic ability, former safety, will we see Houston utilize on the football field? I think of all the players that will make this 53-man roster, if you look at Houston winning a championship, defensively, they're going to have to gut out some games. We can look back at Christian Harris and say, man, he made a play here. He made a play here. He took off the check down here and allowed this player to do that. I think he could be that for Houston. Y'all don't want to wait around, man, and miss out on getting tickets. Go ahead and hop on Game Time right now. Download the app. If you want to visit Boston or maybe Dallas for my Houston folks, we're right down the road, our 45, right? If you want to visit Dallas for the NBA championship and get you a ticket to go watch them live, you could do that with Game Time. Game Time takes all the guesswork out of buying tickets, even last-minute tickets, and you're getting these tickets faster and easier. Prices on Game Time actually go down closer it gets to tip-off. You're not beating Game Time. They also give you the panoramic view option, views from your seat, so you'll see where you're sitting at before you even arrive to the event. And if you find a ticket, same row, same section, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
As we continue here on this Wednesday installment of Locked On Texans, John, I do want to add to your point about Christian Harris. The one thing that I've loved, being at NRG Stadium doing OTAs and mandatory minicamp is the fact that Christian Harris has been one of the most consistent players every time he step out there on the field. And that's exciting only because, look, I know we've been making jokes about this being a t-shirt Olympics, but the fact that he has been able to do that, knowing that one of his best attribute is his physicality. Remember in training camp, almost every single day we came on this show, highlighting his physicality, knowing that lets me know that the 2024 campaign is definitely going to be a remarkable season for that young man. However, the only player that have had any type of success against Christian Harris has been Stefon Diggs. But you know what, y'all listeners and viewers? That is nothing to be ashamed of because Stefon Diggs is here and Stefon Diggs has one thing on his mind coming to Houston, and that's championship.
Well, I feel like I've been chasing the Super Bowl since I got in the league. So, to say like, you get to one specific place and say, this is where I want to try to win it. But this is where I'm at right now. You know what I'm saying? I obviously believe in this team. I believe in the quarterback. Those are, unspoken things that we all can assume. But for me, chasing the ring isn't a like I came here to chase it. I came here to win. I'm saying that starts with a game one and moving forward. Of course you want a ring, and it sounds good to be like you want a Super Bowl and you want a ring, but it takes a lot of effort and a lot of consistency. For me, I take it in one day at a time. It starts in practice, it starts in the walkthrough, it starts in the meeting room. So for me, winning is always in the forefront of my brain with everything that I do. You know what I'm saying? But it's one thing at a time rather than just jumping the gun. I don't put the carriage before the horse.
Stefon Diggs had another phenomenal day at practice. Yesterday he went 2 for 3 and he finally missed a pass attempt thrown his way, and that came due to arguably a all-pro caliber cornerback in Derek Stingley Jr. getting that pass breakup. But John, look, we also had an opportunity for the very first time to talk to Stefon Diggs. And for me, man, when I was sitting there listening to Stefon, I went back to a conversation that you and I had, both on this show and off it, was the unfair narrative surrounding him. Even before the Houston Texans had traded for Stefon Diggs, I remember we was looking at, what wide receivers who are out there after the failed trade attempt for Keenan Allen. You and I was just taking a look at the market, seeing who was out there. And we mentioned Stefon Diggs briefly. And not too many people was on board of Stefon coming here. And I remember even going back then, you said something that caught my attention, and it was the unfair narrative that is surrounding Stefon Diggs doesn't make sense, because if you think about it, this young man has never been in trouble with the law. This young man has never been in any type of situation to make you scratch your head and say, man, what the hell was he thinking? And every time we've heard stories and talked to people who have been around Stefon Diggs, who have covered Stefon Diggs, it all went back to one thing that the Houston Texans are praising him for, and that's his will and his desire to win. And look, even through all of that, the number one thing for me was I cannot wait to ask Stefon Diggs, regardless of what took place in Minnesota, regardless of what took place in Buffalo. I just want to know how much did the lessons that he learned is going to help him thrive here in the city of Houston.
Earlier, you talked about your desire to win, but
Yeah.
from what are you willing to share? What are some of the lessons that you learned rather in Minnesota and Buffalo to make it, kind of all come together here in Houston?
It's crazy because that's a question I had asked myself. I'm a big person of self-reflection. You know what I'm saying? Like being in those places before, asking God to light my path, I still had to look where I came from and a lot of things that I had learned, whether it was in Minnesota, whether it was in Buffalo. What were the things that worked and what were the things that could have helped in that situation? So, and I feel like things that I'm carrying over is like just putting a lot more time in. Football is football at the end of the day, but you don't know what an extra meeting would do or some extra time after practice or some extra time in the morning. Just maybe some little things that kind of can carry over and, do something that'll help you on the field. So just spending more time. You think you're working, and at times you can have a lot of success, but that extra layer or that extra, little bit of practice time or meeting time could win you an extra game or get you on the same page with your quarterback. So for me, just what I really kind of garnished from my past is more so putting more time in, because it's not about effort. For me, it was never about effort. It was never about grind, because I put the time in off the field and on the field. But it's more so keep building and being on the right pace consistently, because, when you get later on in the season, you want to be hitting on all cylinders, but that comes from putting that extra time in. So for me, I give you a little tidbit, just putting a lot more time in, even though you think you're grinding, working smarter, not only hard.
Best question. My God. My God. My God. Hey, this is a real reaction too, by the way, y'all. So I hope Cody don't cut this off. That was, I think, an amazing question. We look at athletes sometimes and we see a lot of great athletes and they get traded, right? You may start your career off with one team and you go to another team, and by the time you look at towards the end of your career, you and your third or fourth team still can compete at a high level, but it's that one thing that got you missing and slipping. And it's that championship. And he's been on a team for the last 4 years that have been championship favorites, in some form or fashion. And I think that question is phenomenal, because what I heard from his response, taking a deeper look into it just briefly, I'm looking at somebody that can still be productive on the field as a 1A, but I heard a damn good leader and teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You look at this team, like right now, we think the best player on offense is CJ, the best player on defense. You toss it up, Derek Stingley, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, right? But two of the three names I just said are young players. This has been a player that's been in the NFL and has been an all-pro, almost everything you can think of as a receiver for nearly a decade, and just hadn't gotten over the hump to make it to the championship game. And it sounds like he got a little bit of, tools in his bag that can not only benefit himself, he's on a 1-year deal, right? I know you want to get paid again, but can also benefit that extra time with your quarterback getting on the same page. He said that, right? Benefit your quarterback, practicing after practice, right? Different way. He's going to benefit Tank Dell, Nico Collins. He's going to benefit John Mechie. I love that question, because it takes away a little bit from the field, I think, aspect, and it allows a player and athlete to kind of do a little bit deep diver of, what they are looking into with that type of question. Question of the day for me, man. This episode is brought to you by Betterhelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get things off of our chest. It could be big, it could be small. Certain things can really start to get to you. We are all human, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's an open ear, who's unbiased on your life. And, I think me as an advocate for therapy, I believe that therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than what the Texans are doing, than what the Rockets are doing, than what the Saints are doing, than what the Patriots are doing. We got bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get those things off of our chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suitable to your daily schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
Yeah, I give all the glory to God, for sure. It's been a blessing, nothing short of a blessing. Just to be out there, just running around. I don't even have to get the ball, just running around and just running routes, just feeling love from my teammates. It feel great. It definitely, I don't want to keep reliving the experience. It definitely changed my perspective of things, like, hanging around, like just not even hanging around, but just being around the right group of guys and stuff like that, or being in the right situations. But, just wrong place, wrong time. So just got to live with it. I'm blessed, God blessed me to get out of that situation healthy. I was only down for like a week without just like working out, but after that, I got right back to work and I'm feeling good.
Before we close out this Wednesday installment of Locked On Texans, man, as a reporter, as someone who has watched Tank Dell since his days at U of H, man, God is good, man. Just to see that young man up there, standing there, giving basically his testimony about what he experienced in Florida. But John, for me, it was just a little bit deeper because, of course, the biggest incident that has taken place over the last couple of weeks with this organization with him was the shooting, but it also gets lost in the fact that he is still recovering from a devastating broken leg that he sustained in December. And ever since the start of OTA, since we've been out there over these last 3 weeks or so, I've just been so in awe of watching Tank Dell make plays during practice. And look, you guys are going to see it in training camp. You guys are going to see it in preseason. And of course, you guys are going to see it throughout the whole entire regular season. I cannot describe how much better this young man is looking. He's looking faster. He's looking shiftier. I mean, yes, we are, singing the praises of Stefon Diggs and of course, Nico Collins looking like he's picking up where he left off from last season. But when you hear people say that this is a team that could definitely have 3 wide receivers with at least 1,000 yards, it's realistic given how much better Tank Dell has looked. I mean, yesterday he caught, I believe, a 28, 29-yard bomb from Davis Mills. And I'm just like, this man does not look like somebody who is coming off of, what took place in Florida, but even on a broader scale, he is not looking like somebody who is still trying to recover from a broken leg. So I had an opportunity to ask him about one of the best for professional trainers here in the city of Houston, Justin Allen, and this is what he had to say.
Tank, how much credit do you give to your trainer, Justin Allen? Because ever since your injury, we've been seeing you work out with him.
Yeah, Jay Allen, that's my guy. I give a lot of credit to Jay Allen. My off times, during the off season, I'm always with Jay Allen. He had different workout plans for me. We go do hill works, outside stand work. In the weight room, we doing explosive things, upper body. We doing a lot of stuff that he putting together for me, and it's for free. So, so appreciate you, Jay. But man, bro, he been amazing, bro. He doing a good job.
You know what? Tank Dell is just like me, and I'm just like Tank Dell. If it's free, it's for me. Now it's amazing to see Tank out there, Cody. Like you just mentioned, not only yourself, Jason Braddock. Clint Storner from 610. I've seen multiple reports that Tank Dell looks like 90% of himself and he looks faster. So this offense could be so dangerous. And again, like D'Amico Ryans, John Mechie looks more explosive this season. We talked about Bobby the other day. Bobby can beat teams in his sleep once they get clicking. Because they have that much talent. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment to the podcast and on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. That's John_Hickman12.
And as always, I'm your host, Cody M. Davis. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at CodyDavis_24. Once again, that's Cody COTY DAVIS _24.
Before we go, Cody, tomorrow, Kenyon Green, is he looking good?
Yes.
Is he looking good?
Yes. Tomorrow is going to be a tribute to the class of 2022, and we're going to look beyond Christian Harris and Derek Stingley, because not only is Christian Harris looking good, John Mechie looking damn good as well, because he beat Derek Stingley Jr. with his routes. Not once, but twice. Not once, but twice. I can't wait to get into it tomorrow. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.
Boom.